park would be from Narrow Way, which has an existing approach onto Highway 2. Access to each space in the RV park would be from an internal looped road. The comments we received, environmental health said that the proposed RV park is subject to review under sanitation in subdivisions. This review will address water supply, wastewater, stormwater drainage, and solid waste disposal. They said that the project is not located within the Columbia Falls Air Pollution Control District. However, fugitive dust must be controlled during development. The Road and Bridge Department had no comments. Fish, Wildlife, and Parks commented that the parcel is mostly timbered and is home to birds, small mammals, and other wildlife. Their main concern was proper management of wildlife attractants, particularly storage of garbage, and they recommended that if the subdivision approved, that all garbage be collected in bear-proof centralized waste disposal areas, and that the facility maintains a food storage ordinance on the property. And then after the report was written, MDT commented that the project may require permits from MDT so that the owner will have to contact the Kalispell Area Maintenance Chief, and BPA had no objections. Since the report was written, we've received 12 comments, all in opposition, which you have in front of you. And I'm sure some will be heard tonight, but to summarize a couple, they reference concerns with the aquifer and question the proposed wastewater facilities, the increased traffic and danger of pulling out onto Highway 2, the residential character of the neighborhood, concerns for the safety of the children, or of their children, decrease in property values, increase in crime, among other things. And then a couple of comments brought up that there is an existing road maintenance agreement for Narrow Way that the subject property is currently not a part of. We were not aware of it during review because a road maintenance agreement was submitted with the application. So I'll leave that up to the planning board to decide what to condition regarding road maintenance. Do you have any questions?
Any questions? Thank you. We'll take an applicant presentation. Do we have an applicant here?
My name is Andy Evanson with Evanson Engineering, 3674 Foothill Road, Kalispell, Montana. Representing that applicant, just wanted to touch on a couple things. We agree with.
Can you speak into the mic, please?
Sorry. Yeah, we agree with the planning's finding of fact and the conditions of approval associated with the preliminary plat. I guess we believe that the application has addressed all the subdivision regulations and the standards. I just wanted to thank you for your time and let you know that I'm available for questions if you have any.
Is there any questions? Thank you. Have we got any public agencies that want to comment? Any public agencies that want to comment? Okay, we're not seeing any public agencies. Has everyone on the board had a chance to look at the written letters? Okay, and we've talked about the public agency comments, so we're going to open this application up for public hearing. Does anybody want to speak on this application? If you want to speak, step up to the podium and give us your name and address for us.
Good evening, I'm Steve Varro, 2027 Teal Drive. I'm a board member of Journey Church, and our top concerns are the safety of our children and church members. Excuse me. With this RV park, we will lose our buffer from the highway. As a steward of our water well to the east, I have several questions and concerns of the RV park going in next door. I realize that this is for the zoning change. However, I'm concerned about potential contamination to our well and the wells of the neighborhood. Our water well to the east is no more than 150 feet to the northeast boundary of the RV park boundary. Most of the water wells nearby are comparatively shallow, no more than 200 feet deep. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like the proposed parking lot and septic system will be just to the west, no more than 150 feet away. Some questions I have are the following. Will there be a RV dump on site? How will this septic system be managed? Will there be an operation and maintenance program? Will there be a plan in place in case of an illicit discharge? Will there be pollution prevention and housekeeping plan? How permeable are the soils from the existing percolation test pits on site? Will the vegetation be stripped to hinder the infiltration process of their stormwater runoff plan? There are several questions and concerns on the shared accessibility and maintenance of the 30-foot easement and gravel roads. The entire neighborhood, including Journey Church, uses this 30-foot easement and gravel road every day of the year. What part and responsibility will the RV park play if they are not going to be part of the road committee? Will other dry utilities like fiber optic trenching block access in this 30-foot easement? I may be way off base here, but regardless of some answers to these questions and concerns, I am against this zone change. I pray that you will vote against this zone change. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Dave Vinio. I'm 618 Swan Mountain Village, and I'm here representing Journey Church and the neighborhood. I'm the pastor at Journey. I'm short term, so I'm going to try and give some history as best I can. The church has been there since 2004 with the neighborhood and has an established relationship with this neighborhood and plans to be there long term. One of the concerns that we have is the safety issue, especially with children. Had this been a small housing subdivision, it might be one issue, but the fact that we're bringing in 21 lots, this is proposing a drastic change into the culture of the subdivision over the last few years. Concern I have is, will the people that come on to this RV park property, do they have a shared interest in maintaining the safety and the culture of this subdivision that we've had over the last 20 plus years? And the safety concern that I have is in regard to our property, our parking lot. What are they doing to ensure that we're not going to have extra traffic coming onto our parking lot, being used as an extra parking lot if guests come onto the property that are going to the RV park? We already have some issues of people that enjoy using our parking lot as a donut making factory in the winter. My concern is that will increase if we have 21 lots with this RV park that is directly adjacent to the church property. What are they going to do to ensure that the people on that RV park stay off of our property? And I was looking at, I believe it's LaSalle RV Park, and the difference with that one, which is just down the road from where this RV park is proposed, that RV park has two businesses on either side of it already, and behind it is, from what I can tell, just a field. So there aren't any houses next to that one. Whereas this one, you have housing and a church right next to this property. So that is a massive concern that we have. Another concern that I have is if we change the zoning from residential to commercial on this property, and yes, it's going to be an RV park, what if in a couple of years they decide to sell it? You open the door to a lot of other entities coming adjacent to our property. So that is a concern for the future that we have. And my primary concern is really the safety component of, will this RV park make our subdivision safer, or will it have increased security risks involved with it? And what are the steps that they're taking to make sure that the houses and our church property stay safe? And that's it.
Thank you. Yes.
My name is Yuri Kazuki. I'm a resident at 357 Narrow Way in Columbia Falls. My wife and I purchased our home in 2016. One of the main reasons we bought our house on Narrow Way was the safe location, the quiet atmosphere, and the family-friendly environment. We have 4 children, ages 10 to 5. We've been happily raising our family in our nice, quiet little neighborhood since we bought our house. We have a very tight-knit little community. Most of our neighbors are in this room. Many of us attend Journey Church. Our pastor just spoke. And we constantly look after and look out for each other's properties. All 23 children that live in this neighborhood constantly play together, ride on this road. So my main concern, again, echoing the pastor, is safety. RV parks are notorious for attracting violence, crime, and drugs. It's a proven fact. This proposed RV park would negatively impact and change the atmosphere of our neighborhood. The statistically proven increased violence and crime and drugs brought by the RV park is not the type of environment that my wife and I want to raise our children in. This RV park directly threatens the safety of our children, our families, and our neighborhood. Our second concern is the increase in traffic and increased potential for accidents accessing our road. There are 9 homes and the church on the road. There are enough traffic concerns as is pulling out onto our road onto Highway 2. The RV park would more than double the number of residents, 21 lots versus 9 homes, and more than likely triple the amount of traffic on that road. The potential for serious accidents dramatically increases. My question is, has the developer done any kind of traffic study? Number 3, furthermore, the developer has refused to join our road association. They've paid no dues since they purchased the property. Not only have they not contributed to maintaining our road, but they have caused significant damage. A sizable ditch was dug when installing electric cable to the property, which was not fully rehabbed upon completion. One of our neighbors had to repair the road with our own money and their own time. This willful disregard for the bylaws of our road association is unacceptable. If anything, it shows the true nature of the developer, that this is simply a money-making venture for them, and they don't care about the negative impacts that this RV park will have on our property. For all the reasons listed above and many more, I strongly urge this board to deny the request for preliminary plat approval of the Glacier Lily subdivision. I understand the Flathead Valley is growing and there's a need for housing. However, this RV park is not the place to do this. Please do not ruin the nice, quiet, peaceful neighborhood we have on Narrow Way. Thank you for our time.
Thank you. You timed it perfect. Good job. Got anybody else want to speak?
Oh, go ahead.
Nathan Gregorish. I reside at 163 Narrow Way, just on the other side of the church there, the second property down the road. Yuri did a great job there. He nailed a lot of good points there. Just the safety of the neighborhood. We also have 4 children at our house that are 11 and under. The tight-knit community it's a wonderful thing that we've got there. It's a dead-end road that doesn't have a lot of through traffic on it, doesn't have a ton of in and out, but entering the highway there is dangerous. They already stopped bus pickup at our road. The Columbia Falls School District won't pick up there because of the dangers of the road. I think there was a bus rear-ended at an RV park about 1.3 miles down the road to the north, and the impact on the small community, all the extra added access to the road that, like he said, it's almost tripling what's already there. There's 15 acres outside beyond the RV park's proposed acreage, which is 6 acres, and you can see 2 of the borders of their property is road easement. So that's 6 acres. It's not all 6 acres that's usable area because of that 30-foot easement on 2 sides of it. So cramming in 21 lots of people who, what is their, do they care about the community that's behind them, that the impact it has on it? What kind of an impact is it going to have on that little small acres? The 15 acres is pretty much all 1 acre housing lots. So you're putting 3 or 4 lots per 1 acre on another property on the road there. It's the water table thing is another really big concern. It was mentioned earlier, but a handful of the residents on the road have wells 50 feet or less. So what kind of an impact is that amount of septic gonna cause, and the amount of water usage? Is that gonna, all of a sudden, we're out there punching deeper wells? I'm all about people trying to make some money on their property, I understand that, but at what cost? At what cost is it to other people's property values and to the small neighborhood there? And I oppose it, I hope you will too. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Melissa Kopic and live at 176 Narrow Way. We are the newest residents on the road, newer to the valley, and I totally get needing housing. We were struggling trying to find something after renting. However, we have 5 children we are adopting from foster care system that have been neglected, abused, and abandoned. They need safety. We specifically found this property, saw the atmosphere that it was, and that's why we purchased this home. If there would have been an RV park at the beginning of it, we would have looked twice. I have one of my sons with me right now. Our other 4 girls are at the house, and they all have special needs. Autism, cognitive delays, high functioning on the autism spectrum, low to moderate. They don't need 21 additional people times by 3 or 4. If you figure if they're going on vacation or whatever, they're gonna have 4 people in each one of those RVs. They don't need that influx on that road. They need the safety and security to where they're not gonna be harmed anymore. And that's why we purchased this land. The bus, we have to drive a quarter mile down the road because of the safety issue of the bus. That road is dangerous. There's times that I have to wait 3 to 5 minutes to be able to pull out from Narrow Way onto Highway 2. I can't imagine how bad it would be if you're putting a Friday night, hey, let's go camping, and have 21 people trying to pull trailers in there. Or back out Monday morning trying to get to work. Or whatever morning that the influx is going to be leaving. If they bring dogs, what damage is that gonna do to our livestock? We have chickens and goats, we raise Boston Terriers, the neighbors have sheep and goats and horses. If they get loose, what are they gonna do to our animals? Crime rate, in my letter here, I even quoted statistics from peer-reviewed journals on how crime rate goes up with population increase. It's just not a good situation. If they wanna do an RV lot, find a place that's more commercialized and doesn't have a neighborhood around it that depends on that safety. That's my thing. I hope you vote no on this and do not let it go forward for the sake of our children. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I still get some photos of the neighborhood?
Yeah, sure.
My name is Michaela Burby-Kozicki. I live at 357 Narrow Way. Just gonna reiterate what everybody here said. I submitted photos of our neighborhood that really shows the quiet simpleness of it. It is just made up of houses. There was an article in the paper that talked about it's a mix of commercial and residential. It is not. Highway 2 might be, our road is just homes. I think, what did I say? We have 10 homes. 9 of the homes consist of families with multiple children. 30 to be exact, 23 of them are younger, 11 and under. Very close-knit neighborhood. All the children play together and all the parents help each other out from house projects to babysitters. We love our quiet, peaceful, safe neighborhood. Cannot stress that enough. Like my husband said, a lot of us are attending Journey Church. So a big concern is the safety. If you're gonna double that, maybe even, 42 people, let's say there's 2 people in each RV. Maybe there's 60 altogether. They're not gonna come back, let their dogs out and walk on Highway 2. They're gonna walk down our nice gravel road. As you see, it's peaceful, it's quiet. It takes you right to the mountains, not to the mountains, but a view. So a concern is, how do we keep those people off of our road and our children running around? Do we feel safe letting the kids go like we do now? Another concern of mine is the integrity of our water. Like they said, we have shallow wells, and if we're going to, I feel that the aquifer is very shallow and will be susceptible to contamination due to the concentration of sewage the park will create. Can we be guaranteed this will not affect our aquifer and personal wells and drinking water? And just like Nathan said, will we have to start drilling deeper? I would reiterate on the safety issues with the highway. It's already a pain getting out of there. I can imagine the area just to get onto the highway getting crammed with RVs. And again, another concern of mine is our property value. As we bought the property for the same reason, and had there been an RV park, we would have turned right around. And in the future, if we decide to sell, anybody want to buy our nice, quiet, we've added on to our house. We love where we live. If we ever sell, is anyone going to want to buy it for what it's worth, what its value, with an RV park there? Another concern is, in the off season, who's going to occupy these spaces? I think it goes without saying we all have concerns about the people that take up the RVs in the off season. Not everybody, but some of them. I would ask you, in your personal neighborhood, would you invite a 21 lot RV space to your neighborhood? Would you like it? I guess I would just finish with, I failed to see the benefits of an RV park in our neighborhood area with all the children, the close-knit families. But thank you for your time, and thank you for hearing us and reading our letters.
Thank you.
I'm Emily McCaffrey. I live at 200 Narrowway. My husband and I moved to Narrowway in October of 2010, and we have 2 little girls, ages 7 and 5. Since moving to Narrowway, we've seen neighbors come and go for various reasons, and every single neighbor that has come into the neighborhood has been a very tight-knit neighborhood, as everyone else has mentioned. The majority of the children that live there are under the age of 10 years old. There's roughly 25 children that are under the age of 10. All of the children play together. They ride their bikes up and down the road. Their barrier is at Journey Church, so they don't go to the highway. That's their turnaround point. But they play together, they ride their bikes, they walk back and forth to the neighbors' houses and play together. All of us neighbors do barbecues together, we help each other with home projects, we babysit for each other. If somebody is out of town for a period of time, we look after each other's property and livestock and animals, and we feed their animals and just take care of everybody. If something is out of the ordinary, we all look after each other and alert everyone so that everybody is aware of something going on. The kids go to the bigger yards to play baseball, kickball. They have sledding parties at the church on the snow hills during the winter. My main concern with the development is with adding 21 lots, that's going to more than double the population on Narrowway. And amongst the 10 homes, the families have very diverse backgrounds, and some of the children suffer from trauma. My children included. You can't tell what kind of people are going to be staying there. Sex offenders have to register when they live in a long-term home. If they're traveling, they only have to submit an itinerary to their PO officer. So the sex offender is coming into an RV park and walking up and down the road. You're not going to know they're there. And the majority of these children are little girls under the age of 10. And we need to protect all those little girls who run freely and play. And with over 21 lots, that's adding more stress and anxiety to these children. And that's adding more stress and anxiety on is their neighborhood still a safe place for them. So I am opposed to this, and I urge you to please consider the safety of these children so that they can have a safe neighborhood still.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to speak?
Good evening. Thanks for your time, folks. Name's Mark Hoppick. I'm 176 Narrow Way. I'm also one of the new additions to the neighborhood just this past early spring. I'll reiterate very much that the safety of our families, our property, our pets, and our livestock are premium on everyone's minds when we found out about this request. I'll echo the potential traffic issues on Highway 2. There's an established history of accidents involving buses and I believe some RVs as well. But also to consider the dead-end nature of Narrow Way. If you've got folks coming in out of town not familiar with the area, if you've got a monster fifth wheel and he pulls down the wrong way, he's using one of our yards to try to get turned around, and there's not a lot of space. Narrow Way was named very appropriately. Other things to keep in mind, spoke on a little bit earlier, trash, sanitation, wastewater concerns, especially with the area winds. Just general garbage and trash flowing about, but also the effect on our water table, the aquifer associated with it, and if you're going to have a lot of waste and a lot of trash, also possibly wildlife attracting. That occasional bear, we all have our own livestock to consider, chickens or goats and sheep. Don't need a comfortable, hungry, big fella coming through there. So we as a community would ask you to please consider voting for this request. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Does anybody else want to speak? Anybody else want to speak? Third call. We'll close the public hearing. Does the applicant have rebuttal?
I'd like to just address a couple of the comments with regard to the sanitation, water and sewer. We are proposing public water, public wastewater systems that would have to get permitted through Montana DEQ. We've gone through, done the preliminary calculations. We are meeting the non-degradation rules with the proposal. So don't see any concerns on that end. There's a few comments on the safety of the children. We do have proposed park rules included in the subdivision application. I'm certain that the owners would be open to meeting with the community to get any additional rules that would help maintain the safety of the community incorporated into that rule. So don't really see an issue with that. A couple folks noted that this was a zoning change. I think it's important to note it is not a zoning change. Zoned scenic corridor, there's no commercial residential zoning associated with the property. Let's see here. Road maintenance agreement. As far as I'm aware, the access through the property is for the benefit of the neighboring properties and does not exclude the owner of the property from using this property. We are proposing to increase the easement of Narrow Way along the west portion of the property to 60 feet. And then also pave that portion of Narrow Way to address any maintenance issues for the portions of the road that could be impacted by the RV park. And then, we've had discussions with MDT about access into and out of the park. They did not have any, initial concerns, but they did mention that there could be some requirements, with any permit applications that might come up, so, that's basically what I wanted to address. Obviously, can't address all of the concerns from the public, but, happy to answer any questions from the board.
There are a couple questions that came up, Andy. One was, will there be an RV dump?
No, there's not. Each RV space has an individual hookup. There's not an RV dump associated with it.
And then, how will the septic system be managed?
There'll be as being a public system for both water, wastewater, we'll have to have certified operators that maintain those systems, and we'll put together an operations and maintenance plan for those.
And then they asked how permeable are the soils?
They were sand gravel cobbles with the test bits that we dug out there, and we designed a pressure dose drain field system that I mentioned before does meet the non-degradation goals.
And they asked about vegetation removal.
I think that was on the stormwater.
That was, I think it was on the stormwater.
Yeah, and there's an existing lowland area on the west end of the property, and we are planning to use that for stormwater management and no disturbance of that area.
And then one other comment or concern was, will dry utilities block access?
I'm not quite sure if I understand that.
I'm not sure I do either, but I think they're wondering if installation of dry utilities, which would be electric, phone, cable, would block access somehow.
I think there's some potential for temporary disturbance of access just with construction, but there should not be any permanent installations that would impact.
After it's installed.
Correct. Right.
I think that was the only question I wrote down. No, I'm just talking about the questions that I got for people. If there's any other questions.
I think there's quite a traffic, like, did this project require a traffic impact study?
Oh,
or
that's right, that was one.
Yeah, it did not, because it's under the 400.
Yeah. And then, and one other comment that came up, Andy, was, is there any mechanism to protect against people parking on the church and using the church for parking, that type of thing? Is there any fencing proposed, I guess, or
Yeah,
anything like that?
That's a good question. I think the best way to handle that in my mind is good signage, because there's limited space coming off of the highway into the park. So if they miss the turn, they miss the turn. Other than that, no, there's really not. I think unfortunately there are potential impacts with folks missing it if they can't redesign, unfortunately.
Okay, any questions from the board now?
Yeah, you know, in that road thing, there was a comment made, so you just kind of potentially answered it about people missing the turn in right there, and then coming down the narrow way in order to do a turnaround. Is that
Yeah, so the plan for the traffic was, this is a one-way loop road. And so we didn't want folks coming this way for the specific purpose of not increasing traffic this way. And so we are having signage here that folks will see when they come in and loop around here and then loop back.
so you mentioned something about paving part of narrow way down there.
Correct.
What's that paving for relative to your development then?
Yeah, so our plan was to, there would be a new approach with wider radius points to improve turning in and out of the development, but also this portion of narrowway would get impacted by the RVs coming in and going out. And so our proposal is all of the internal road here would be paved, but also we're going to pave this portion of narrowway that would be impacted
there to the left, and narrow ways down at the bottom.
Yeah, so this is Highway 2. Narrow Way comes in here now and runs parallel to the west line
Oh.
and then comes along through
I
here.
see. Huh,
So you don't see it.
that's weird.
So it's kind of a frontage road right here. And that's the portion that would be impacted by the.
Verdell, you have a question?
Would you point out where the church is?
The church is this property right back here. So their access is in through here, around the side, and then into.
Does anybody, does narrow way continue up to the, what would be the upper part of your path there?
Up here?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. No, it's into the property, a sharp turn, and then a 30-foot easement along this. And then most of the properties that have been discussed are in the back here.
How will the park be managed? Will it be an on-site 100% of the time manager?
Yes.
Is there like a spot for them, or is that?
Yeah,
is
so
that-
there's an existing home on the property right now, right here in the middle, and that's proposed as the manager's residence for while the park is in operation.
Okay.
So there would be an on-site manager?
Correct, yep. Yeah, and I think they're operating that as a short-term rental now, they've got a property management company that's doing that, but that is their plan.
And the road, narrow way going east, that's a private road, right? So
Mhm.
there's no access for, no like legal access for this property beyond the property line going
Correct.
east.
Yeah.
So,
you know,
I guess park rules and things like that, signage, keeping people from going down that road. I mean, I guess that's one of the issues that was brought up, like keep preventing guests from kind of impacting the neighborhood to the east. I guess are there like, I guess in the current park rules, is that handled already, or?
No, so we're putting together a traffic plan basically that would have to go with our application to MDT for the approach permit.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I think that's, obviously that's an issue for the community and we want to address that. Definitely don't see an issue there.
But you've got park rules, draft park rules created right now?
Correct, yeah, they were included with the subdivision application.
Okay. Any other questions from the board, Greg?
Yeah,
Comments?
well, Gary's question kind of answered mine. I was trying to figure out the traffic pattern and I didn't notice that there was that kind of frontage road narrow way thing here. And I assume that if this were to be proposed, that on the bottom part of Glacier Lily Loop, you would have signs there indicating that RVs go this way, don't go down.
Yeah, so with it being a one-way loop, yeah, that signage has to happen right here. Because if they miss that, then it's really too late. They can do that and we'll have.
Oh, so it's a one-way loop.
It is a
Yeah.
one-way, correct, yep.
But if somebody made the wrong turn and they were able to snag it on the last bit, they could come in, they could kind of.
They could, yeah.
They could turn around there,
Turn around
yeah.
there,
Yeah, I think,
Okay.
Let me ask you this, have you guys given any thought to fencing?
I think the owners have, we didn't address it with our application just because they
Well, you've heard the testimony.
Mhm.
And it seems to me that, number one, keeping the traffic off of that bottom part of Narrow Way is important.
Definitely.
And if this were, say, put a 6-foot chain link fence around this to keep anybody's pets or stuff from drifting into the neighborhood, that might be a consideration too. I imagine that's expensive, but could we impose a condition for fencing?
A person could try to. The problem we've always had with that is trying to define what type of fence we want.
It's
but-
like 6-foot chain link.
Right, I know, but I'm just saying that it can be proposed. It isn't part of our regs.
No, and it's not, but can we condition?
We could. I think if it's not part of our regs, we need to be careful and make sure that applicants are okay with it. If we start making up things that aren't in the regs.
Yeah, gotcha.
But that's something we could talk about when we get to the discussion on the conditions. If we want to, then we'll have to involve the applicants in the discussion.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I guess speaking as their representative, I don't think that's an unreasonable ask. But that being said, it is also not my money either, so.
Yeah. Is there is the applicant here tonight?
No, they're not.
They're not here, okay.
Can you contact them?
Yeah.
Well, as long as we're talking about what, to me, the whole narrow way thing with that 90-degree turn, well, it's really a really unusual frontage. Why does narrow way not just directly dump out on Highway 2? And have you guys considered that? Modifying, I know that's a highway, and there's really special highway issues with in and out ingress. I've heard people talk about how it's difficult to get out onto Highway 2 where it is now. There's possibly some benefits in maybe redesigning narrow way to be a more user-friendly kind of a in and out.
Unless someone asks you.
Down there on the bottom. Because it's not, if you're gonna pave all of that and fix narrow way, maybe considering the concerns from the neighbors, that might help partially satisfy them is to consider punching narrow way straight over there and yet preserving your exclusive entrance into your RV park.
I think the problem is, Gary, is that highway is restricted access. And
I understand.
You can't get new accesses.
Yeah, and I think that the idea with roads like that is to collect into, because when you start punching out more roads, you create another safety problem where you have where traffic cruising down the road, high speed, they have to deal with more obstacles. So you create other safety issues when you approach them like that. When you have a frontage road, you're kind of collecting traffic into one approach, which is minimizes on and off incidences. But yeah, I mean that would be a good solution, and probably maybe a good solution, but I think a slower speed highway would be.
Well, I don't think you could get an access, because the restricted access, they would only give you so many, and they don't want them too close together. So that's the problem. It's a good idea, but they don't think you could ever get the access.
Yeah.
That's just from my experience. Is there any other questions or comments with the applicant right now? Okay, thank you.
Did not get a response back on the fencing, so.
You didn't yet?
I didn't get one yet.
Okay. Well, we're gonna be talking for a little while.
Okay.
Maybe a little. Okay, let's see, where are we at here? We're in the, does the staff have any rebuttal?
No.
Okay, so what we would need now is a motion on the findings for this application.
Yeah, I'll make a motion on the finding. Kick the ball off. I move Flathead County Planning Board accept subdivision report number FPP-23-04's finding of fact.
Is there a second?
Second it.
Motion by Greg, seconded by Verdell to adopt the findings of fact of subdivision report FPP 2304. Is there any discussion on the findings? We will take roll call on findings.
Sandra Noble,
Yes.
Buck Breckenridge,
Yes.
Gary Vitapka,
Yes.
Greg Stevens,
Yes.
Jeff Larson,
Yes.
Wardell Jackson,
Yeah.
Okay, the findings are passed. I'd like to get a motion on the recommendation of the county commissioners. Anybody wanna make a motion?
Well, I guess I'll make a motion, we gotta do something. I move that the County Planning Board forward subdivision report number FPP-23-04 to Flathead County Commission with a positive recommendation.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion by Greg, seconded by Burdell, to forward it on to the commissioners with a positive recommendation.
Now-
MVP 2304 is a discussion.
Having said that, I've been looking at the traffic circulation here, and it seems to me that the traffic circulation, if they adhered to the way it's laid out, shouldn't have too much of an impact on the folks on the south end and the east end of Narrowway. But that can't be absolutely guaranteed, I guess, that would happen. And the testimony regarding safety to the neighborhood, although it doesn't seem to me there's gonna be a lot of traffic safety issues, there are some other issues there as far as people, animals, whatever, drifting down to the south part of Narrowway. That's why I mentioned the fence, if that could mitigate some of those concerns. And anyway, those are my concerns. I'm interested in hearing the rest of the board discussion. I have not made a decision yet.
Is there any other discussion?
Well, okay, I'm not sure that the narrow way, the way that I see it here, doesn't include that Glacier Lily loop. Literally, I guess the dotted lines confuse me a little bit here. Because there's that arc or oval that appears to be part of the narrow way, that way that is drawn here.
Well, you can see
You-
that
you
60
see-
foot, you see the 60 foot
Right.
utility access on the bottom there, 60 foot wide. That, so the portion of narrow way that's in that is the shared portion,
Is that what portion?
is the shared portion.
Yes, but doesn't narrow way then bend right back up and actually overlap the gray area?
Yes, it does, it
Okay.
comes in on the same access point.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, so the only way really to control it is to prevent RVs who want to come in here from turning right but going straight. Yeah, okay. Now, I don't know how you know, I guess you could probably fence portions of things.
I think one of the largest concerns, I mean, the concerns with sanitation and water tables and things like this, and probably could be addressed through sanitation regulations, and probably have been addressed through sanitation regulations and adhering to those. But I think the big thing of substance with these RV parks is the use during the down season. And because they tend to fill up with people who otherwise can't find housing, or for reasons that are, well, they're just the more difficult members of our society. Because they're short term, they come in, they go, and maybe they have drug addiction issues. You know, maybe they're sex offenders, can't get normal housing because of background check issues and things like that. And it's very prevalent the drug use and things like that associated with wintertime users of RV parks are. I don't know if there's so much study, but we all can see it when we drive by or when we hear testimony. I've heard testimony before on other projects here. And I don't know if we have the resources to deal with that here. The problem we have is that this RV park, or that there's no zoning here really. It's because there's scenic corridor, but it doesn't. That's just signs. That's basically what that says. You can't put signs. You can't put obstructions in view, properly cell towers and things like that. But we don't have very much regulation here, and other than the subdivision regs, you know, with density and such, and of course sanitation regulations. Regulatorily, I don't see really any problems with this development. The thing that would give me heartburn is just that there is a very tight-knit community here, for sure, and they will be impacted by this, and that definitely putting myself in their shoes gives me like cause for concern. I don't know if looking at it from like the regulatory standpoint though, like we have regulations. Here are the regulations. There's nothing wrong with the report. The report, it just lays it out. Like, this is what the regs say. This is where they met all the qualifications. So if can I deny it or recommend denial on a feeling? Well, maybe, I don't know.
In my experience, you better tie your feeling to a substantive health, safety, or general welfare issue, not just I don't like it.
Yeah, no, it's not that I don't like it. It's just the impacts of on a community that is tight, and I understand that. The only thing I really see that from a safety standpoint right now that's quantifiable is you're pulling out RV parks, RV trailers, big RVs, essentially sometimes moving houses onto a high-speed highway. And the regs don't require they have a traffic impact study, but it seems, it is a dangerous thing. School buses, that's the side, already the school system has said, we're not gonna, our RV-sized rigs are not gonna pull in, going in out there, we're not gonna use this anymore.
I get that. That's one of the reasons I voted against that farm to market deal up there. I didn't want to see RVs trying to pull out that high speed highway.
And that's probably my, from a health and safety standpoint, other than just like, this is coming in and just kind of blowing putting a big bomb in a neighborhood that's very tight knit. I mean, that's probably the only thing that hasn't been addressed. And I understand why it wasn't addressed, because regulations don't require it, but might need to talk about it. So,
Sandy.
I remember, I think it was my first or second meeting with this board, and there was an RV park proposed off of Highway 2, I don't recall, it was between Columbia Falls and Whitefish, and I said something to the effect of, well, I wouldn't want to live there if they did that. And I got a lot of flack because of saying something emotional about. And I've learned a lot from the board members, because you do have to have a concrete reasons for things. It can't just be about how you feel, but I get myself in trouble about that all the time anyway, so why break a trend? What struck me is someone saying about their property, would I have purchased it knowing that that was there, if it were already constructed?
Yeah, they can submit something in writing to suspend that deadline too, if they wanted to rework it before.
If they wanted to work with the neighbors a little bit, see if they can come to.
Yeah, I mean, that is an option for the applicants.
I don't know if that's something we would wanna do, but whatever you guys. Verdell?
Yeah, I spend a lot of time on property rights, and here we have a situation where they've met all the requirements. I read through this. All requirements have been met. And I think we would be violating the property rights. And we would be subject to being sued if we do that. So I think the possibility of trying to come up with some conditions to make it better, I think would be in order, because I'm going to have to vote for it, because I believe that it would be violating the property rights.
So, I guess the question I have for the board is, we don't really know how this will all turn out. So do you think we should add a condition?
No, I don't think we should try to design a subdivision.
I mean, as far as fencing goes.
I don't think so. That's designing the
So it
subdivision.
is the way it is, you think?
I think we should vote and let them resubmit if we come up with some good solutions.
Okay, anybody else want to say anything? Gary, you want to?
I think we need a better plan that addresses the community's concerns. And I would probably vote no, with a strong recommendation that they seek that, and that there be a fairly good presentation of what the community's concerns that have been expressed, and what this development intends to do to mitigate those, and then come back.
Okay, again, everybody done?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna take a roll call vote, and this is a vote to recommend approval. If yes votes to recommend approval.
Yes.
Greg Stevens?
No.
Gary Rotopka?
No.
Buck Breckenridge?
No.
Jeff Larson?
No.
Verdell Jackson?
Yes.
Sandra Noble?
No.
Okay, that motion fails on a 5-1 vote, so can I get a motion to recommend denial on it?
Mr. Chair, I move the Flathead County Planning Board recommend denial of the application for FPP 2304.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion by Clark, seconded by Sandy to make a motion to commissioners to deny this board discussion, but I wanted to ask a question first before we go into the board discussion. If we were to recommend denial, could they suspend the timeline and work with the neighborhood a little bit before it goes to the commissioners?
Right, so what we're looking at is would be a mid-process resubmitted application. So, within 5 working days following planning board hearing, the subdivider shall notify the planning and zoning office in writing with the request to submit a revised application and preliminary plat. The letter must be include a waiver to statutory timeframe until the revised application is resubmitted and the second hearing, public hearing, is held by the planning board. So they can do that. They can, if they choose to, or they can move forward.
And see what the
Just go.
commissioners do.
Yeah.
So they could withdraw and we can rehear it.
Well, it would be called the mid-process resubmittal, and then it would be reheard
Reheard by us?
by you, yes.
So,
you want, go ahead and take discussion.
I'm sorry, it was discussion. So,
Yeah, that
so
one.
at this point, I mean, ship's kind of sailing, I guess, but, to give the applicant, because I feel like the applicant has done a good job just for their, would it be appropriate to, if I asked the applicant if they would want to request tabling the application, or that would.
Well,
the
we got a motion on the table to deny.
Yeah, I'm just,
And so essentially, they could take it to the commissioners, or they could suspend the time frame,
mm,
and and then they could still take it to the commissioners,
Yeah.
right?
they could work it with the commissioners with it.
I mean, yeah, they have a couple options. They can just request a waiver of the timeline and make no changes and just think about it, they can just move forward as is, or they can request that mid-process resubmittal within 5 days of the meeting tonight, and that would suspend the timeline, and then that would give them time to rework the application.
Yeah, they might be able to come up with a fencing plan or something that mitigates the concerns, I don't know, I'm just saying. I'd rather have them come up with something than us trying to come up with something. So, any other discussion on the motion on the table? Okay, we're gonna make a roll call vote. A yes vote is to recommend denial to the commissioners, so yes means deny.
Verdell Jackson,
No.
Sandra Melville,
Yes.
Jeff Larson,
Yes.
Buck Breckenridge,
Yes.
Greg Stevens,
No,
Gary Vitavka.
Yes.
Okay, at this point, we're gonna forward that on to the county commissioners, a recommendation of denial. I think it was a 4-2 vote. But the applicant has some options to work with the neighborhood and see if they can come up with something to mitigate the concerns. That's totally up to the applicant. I just wanna thank everybody for testifying tonight, and you'll need to stay in contact with the planning office to see if it goes forward, or if he decides he wants to meet with some of you guys and maybe come up with some ideas to work together. So thank you guys.
I just want to say that's 5 working days, so the first working day would be tomorrow.
Okay.
So,
All right.
next Wednesday would be the deadline for that.